Hey, we're here and we're back on the podcast. And if you're looking to scale your remote income by landing and stacking multiple remote jobs via automated job search and AI strategies, plus if you're looking to find out the secrets of building and scaling a business, then you are exactly in the right place. Mr. Delaney William from ElevatedTech.us is here to help you out, because if the current job market leaves you feeling tired and overwhelmed, he has found a way to hack the system so you can secure a dream job without hours of applications. That's super exciting. Mr. Delaney, glad to be speaking with you.
Likewise, Robert. Very excited to be here.
We're just a couple of black t-shirt guys with the good hair. I almost shaved today. We would have matched exactly, but
Man,
you do what you can. Yeah, we're just so close. Yeah, we got a good vibe. I don't have the neon lighting vibe, but that's still okay. What are you all about? What did I leave out of that bio? What are you super passionate and focused about these days?
Yeah, you got a lot of it. For me, freedom is a huge thing. So whether that's through being able to create a remote income, initially for me it was job stacking. Now it's running a business, teaching others to do that. Outside of those things, I have an awesome relationship. Really love spending time with my friends here in Austin, and I'm super into health and fitness.
Well, very nice. You just got that well-rounded lifestyle, right? But also
We try.
fast-paced, breakneck. And so, as far as this term you mentioned, this job stacking, what is that?
Yeah, job stacking is the concept of working multiple jobs at the same time. So you think about the concept of having multiple income streams. Technically, you could do it by stacking part-time work, but the way I see it, and a lot of people who we end up working with see it, is you really get the crazy returns when you figure out how to stack what others would consider full-time jobs, but compress the amount of time it takes to do those jobs into half or even less the amount of time and work 2 or 3 of those simultaneously.
Oh, nice. Well, we really are living in the future, because you're making me flash back to like literally 20 years ago. There was the 4-hour work week and Tim Ferriss, and he kind of mentioned a little bit of the remote job before that was even a term, before people really talked about that. And this idea of you become more efficient and you do the things that it takes others 8 hours and you do it in 1 or 2, which is like totally possible, right? If you know the shortcuts, you have your routine, you're kind of software fluent, you can make some of this stuff work. And so if someone says, all right, you've sort of cracked the code on how to get some of these remote jobs and how to configure them properly, it still seems like a lot to figure out. So what's the solution? How does somebody get a remote job and do kind of this somewhat overworking that you're mentioning?
Yeah, absolutely. So it feels hard and scary and impossible for people if you're looking at the entire elephant. But if you break it down bite by bite, it's really straightforward. I mean, really at the fundamental level of it, it's just, can I get interviews and turn those interviews into a job offer? That's step one. So like literally 90% of the effort, and even for our clients, probably 97% of the time is focused on that part, and 3% on the how to become more efficient in the job part. Like that ends up just being pretty self-explanatory. But the hardest part for almost everyone is the modern job market. The modern job market is very, very different, like almost unrecognizable from 2 or 3 years ago. 500 people apply to every job on the market. So you really have to understand the hacks and understand the underlying tech that drives how people even get interviews. So figuring out how to play that game, really simple analogy is basically like Google search, where recruiters are looking at literally 30 pages of applicants. And most people might have good stuff on their resume, but they're on page 29 out of 30 because the algorithm isn't scanning their resume and assuming, oh, this person is a good fit. And that's more about the keywords you have in your resume. And basically what those AI systems are, like the logic they use to scan a resume compared to the job ad or the job listing, and take its best guess if you're a good fit or not. So really, first and foremost, learn how to play that game. Same logic applies to the resume and the LinkedIn. You just really need to understand how to hack those things. You also still need to be very qualified because it is cutthroat. Even if you do all the hack things, you have to be a genuinely qualified candidate. That seems impressive. But if you can really crack that, you'll start showing up more and more on those early pages. You'll see a much higher response rate from recruiters when you're applying to jobs. And for us, what has been incredibly successful, despite how many people apply to jobs and how saturated the market is of candidates, is just insane volume. So for people who want to do this, we usually don't recommend going for like really senior, like VP level jobs or director level jobs even. We find that the sweet spot is senior manager and below because A, there are way more of those out there. You think about just the pyramid, right? Like the closer you get to the base, the more there are. There might be 2,000 product management jobs, whereas there are, or we're on a marketing podcast, so there might be 2,000 marketing manager jobs and maybe 200 director of marketing jobs out there. Just the sheer nature of how companies are structured and whatnot. So sheer numbers game, going for there's more, those roles that there are much more of them out there. And if you can actually get crazy volume out, so we're able to apply to 2,000 jobs per month for our clients. We have people in the Philippines who apply to jobs for them. And they're also trained on some really powerful AI tools that we have in-house that automate the application process. So you don't have to do it that way. That's like as hardcore as you can get. But how do I get out as many applications as possible with as dialed of a resume and a LinkedIn as possible based on the current standards of how the algorithms work? So if you can crack that, you're 90% of the way there. That means you'll start booking at least like 3 to 5 interviews a week, and that will snowball into you getting an offer. And once you're in the role, then it's like, okay, I have 2 jobs. How do I stay efficient and keep this sustainable? What I always encourage is never move so fast that you're not going to deliver high quality work, because there is like ethical and moral gray area to all this stuff. And for me, my line in the sand is, as long as I give a positive ROI to both companies, they probably won't even question, like they'll back off and they won't even be questioning me at all. But the minute I start to really slack off and drop the ball on things, not only will people be watching closer, so that there's just more stress around all of it, but you also might get fired pretty quickly if you're not doing a good job. So it's like, make sure you have the systems in place that you don't even start looking for a second job until you're already extremely dialed in your first job. Once you do take on that second gig, it's great to maybe take a couple weeks off from your main job to just dial in at least a week to just onboard and catch up as fast as you can. And for compressing the amount of time you spend in each role, we're always looking at 3 things. The least sexy, but the most effective is always your EQ. Like, can you build enough social capital and be a leader in your team so you can like rally everyone around efficiency? Why do we have this 3-hour meeting every other week? Let's just make that a Slack update, things like that, delegation, just being in control of like meetings on your calendar and being able to move those around as needed. And, plenty of tactical things you could do, but it's calendar management, EQ, leadership. And then the more sexy ones to talk about is AI. So a traditional LLM, maybe it's building a custom AI agent to support you with a more complex workflow, building a custom knowledge base based off of like your internal documentation and whatnot at your company. So you're not just getting generalized feedback, but it can actually just do reports as you, essentially. Most jobs is just turning words into different words. So AI can be highly effective in about 80% of things most people do. Obviously, there's nuances and custom fields of work where you'll need a more specialized tool. And then the third vehicle for really reducing down a role is outsourcing. And that looks like hiring an assistant from the Philippines or a different country where you can get someone highly skilled at, an hourly rate that's like 1/8 of what you're currently earning. And if they can help you crush half your workload, they get paid, they're happy, you still keep a large percentage of that, and you have a second income source. Like, everybody wins in those types of situations.
Yeah, and this is so cool. It's like it can work as long as you're dialed in, as long as you're focused, as long as you apply strategy. You don't just wing it, because it just seems like, man, it seems like a high risk, high rewards kind of scenario where you have to apply like the leadership on the team and the coworkers, and you kind of have to have a lot of that inner work done where you have really good time management and always up to date on the tools and the LLMs to make you more efficient, and then also a little bit of that arbitrage, right? To kind of outsource the grunt work to someone overseas. It seems like a lot of balls juggling in the air, but that's the lifestyle we're living in, right? If you want to kind of be an accountant at IBM, well, go live in 1950, right? We need to like figure out all this right now. And so as far as like the process, when someone uses elevated technologies, like how does someone get up and running? Are they someone that they have a job and they're looking to kind of replace that, or looking for new work and they're frustrated? Like, what's the typical person that starts going through your process?
Yeah, fantastic question. And we really support 3 different types of people, because at the core of what we do, it's about getting interviews and getting offers. And it's like, are you going to choose to repeat that process or not? So about a third of people are unemployed or in a job they just don't like, and they want to swap it for a job. Like, I just need one job right now. Another third of people are ready to job stack ASAP. Like, I have a remote job, I'm cruising, I'm ready for that second one right now. And the third camp is really a blend of the two, which is, I do want both, but I have a short-term goal, which is I just need a job, and then I'm ready to run it back and get it. Yeah.
Well, awesome.
So it's like, and it
Yeah.
really is just those steps of let's get the resume and the LinkedIn dialed. Let's make sure we pick the right North Star, which is you have to like one of the most important things is really understanding what job title you're going to optimize everything around. Because you can't
Mhm.
just say, I'm a marketing professional. Recruiters aren't hiring marketing professionals. They're hiring marketing manager. They're hiring um, media buyer. Like you have to be very, very clear on how you're going to write all those things. So, um, yeah, it's really just what we specialize in is done for you everything. So we want you to focus on the high leverage things in your life. Like even if you have the free time, you applying to jobs for 6 hours a day is not a high value thing for you to do with your time. So
Right.
we'd rather take that off your plate, let you work on your portfolio, work on more tactical networking, the things that are actually valuable for you to be doing, essentially.
Well, very amazing. And you're giving me flashbacks because, like, I had a coworker once who was really good at this stuff, but doing it the manual way, right? When he applied to jobs, he'd customize the resume for each one, which is like, that's a lot of work. And when he was looking for a job, he'd put the same amount of time that he potentially spend employed into looking for a job. And it's like, it just seems ridiculous to go about it that way when we have these systems and the AI in place and the infrastructure that you have in place. And so you mentioned like a lot of good things here, right? You mentioned about how like kind of tailoring what you apply for that right job, which is like very doable with AI and LLMs. You mentioned about getting your LinkedIn kind of spruced up that way you stand out. But as far as when people run through your system, do you see them making any sort of mistakes that the rest of us can avoid?
Yeah, I mean, there are honestly so many unfortunate mistakes, and it's really hard not to make mistakes in the current market because it is all algorithm driven. Uh, One page resume, 99% of the time is the right move, unless you're like literally C suite or above. One page, uh, it's really it's just like marketing, and you're the perfect person to share this with. But a lot of people are just so obsessed about what they're writing in their resume. They don't realize a recruiter's literally going to give it 5 seconds. Like it's not a joke. They're looking at 300 resumes. It's about capturing attention. And for me, I have a team of coaches who write resumes, and once in a blue moon, I'll have to give feedback if something's not working. And I literally only give the resume a look for 30 seconds. And all my feedback comes off of that first 30-second hook. And it's what can we do to capture attention? So one little freebie for people is one of the like fancy language using words like spearheaded and synergy. They just are like word vomit these days, and everyone will assume ChatGPT wrote it anyways. So use the most simple language, the most simple adjectives that like people say if you're doing marketing, you're writing marketing content, write with third grade, write with third grade vocabulary to make it really easy for people to digest. Obviously there are like niche keywords that you should be using, but for the most part, the adjectives and the language should be super easy to consume. It shouldn't make the brain hurt. And huge dollar values, like drawn out. One of the worst things you can do is put $ 3M to denote revenue, because you'll probably scan right past that and not even notice it. But 3,000,000,000 right at the front of a bullet point, the top bullet point in the resume, that's what'll pattern interrupt people. So simple, like the
Nice.
framework I follow for every line on a resume, super simple verb, huge dollar value, as big as we can make it without it being complete lie, and then the how. And if you can do that, there's a reason for people to read. They're not just thinking, okay, is any of this legit? Is it all BS? It's like, okay, it's numbers. So this is denoting impact, denoting that you add a ton of value. And now I'm actually going to pay attention, and I've got your attention. I'll actually read it.
Well, very nice. Yeah, and it's like I love the abstraction, right? It's like it's very much a funnel process. It's there's the marketing where you have like you're kind of doing like a wide net, and it's what can you attract and what gets attention. You get a lot of rejection, and then it gets kind of dialed into like basically the sales, the job interview rounds, and then you get something, and then it's like transitioning to like a onboarding and fulfillment, but for yourself, right? Yourself getting
Totally.
up and running with job number one or two, and like getting your own workflow and time management dialed in. It's really cool to think about, right? Because sometimes it's hard to break out of our own way of thinking, and it's like, man, this guy Delaney, he's built an amazing company, and they help you out. And I always find it fascinating when someone like figures out a proven solution, right? Like whatever it is, right? They say, we'll get you X number of clients, X number of appointments, we'll get you this job. And then you kind of package it and then duplicate it, it's really just amazing to think about, right? That you say, like, normally it's the kind of work that you'd expect to be like real bespoke and customized, but you're like, we don't need that. We commodified it, right? And you can just go through our funnel. And so what has that journey been like as far as you growing Elevated Technologies? Like, has it been difficult to get like the success stories, or to get the new people, or with the fulfillment, the operations? Like, what have the headaches been growing your company?
Yeah, fantastic question. It's super fun to talk about. So backstory on even starting all this, I had been in product management for 6 years, but within the first year of that, I was like, it's a big, boring healthcare company. I was passionate. They did not reward innovation at all. So I was basically just cashing a check for 6 of those years and working on side hustles. And I've always been attracted to the online business space. So this is the first business I've launched that has really, grown quite tremendously. But I had 6 years of learning and failure and developing skills so that when we launched this business, I really did have a pretty good roadmap in terms of how to grow and scale an online service-based business. I think the biggest headaches. So a year later, we're doing 6 figures a month in revenue. I think the biggest challenge with it is the sales piece. Like, marketing is so easy. It's like, hey, do you want to triple your income without starting a business with job stacking? Like, it's blue ocean. No one is like teaching this thing. So like getting the hook for people is so easy. Like, it's so easy to get book calls with people. But I would say the
Right.
biggest challenge is probably the sales part, in the sense that there's a lot of uncertainty and unknown. Like, people are not problem aware and solution aware and ready to buy. So you have to really educate them on what is job stacking. You have to help them understand, like, is it for them? Most people, even if it is for them, there's still some fear because it's not very normalized. It's pretty edgy. Um,
Right.
there's a lot of like, is this like basically just an inherent scam because it's basically lumped in with make money online? And we have like tons and tons and tons of success stories, but it takes a long time for us to find the right closers. Like, the right salesperson does a fantastic job, but the average person who might do well at a more standardized offer can struggle with us. So a lot of our growth has been limited by sales churn. But everything else has been great. Like, fulfillment has been great. We've been able to attract some amazing coaches from people who are career coaches, and just updating them on our pretty novel process. But yeah, overall things are good. It's just really navigating, like, how do we really go from completely cold, no idea what this is, to I'm ready to spend thousands of dollars on a service to help me achieve so.
Well, very nice. I love your marketing mind here, right? Because you're talking about like those different levels of awareness, like problem aware, solution aware, ready to buy. You're thinking about the closers of, it's like an opportunity offer, right? Which is, it's kind of, it, like you said, it is a little edgy, right? It's like you attract the gambler mindset, someone who just like wants to really do something risky, but then you can't oversell it because then you do get lumped in with at the scary scam. So it is a lot to navigate, right? You have to be like kind of just on the edge, just close enough to that flame, so to speak. And so it's really cool to hear about and think about what you're going on. And as far as you mentioned a little bit about like getting these interesting coaches. So is there like a particular like sort of success story or avatar you feel like sharing of someone who's like really right for this service you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll share a specific example of my favorite client transformation in the last month or so. But before that, I would say our average avatar, the person that will get amazing results with us, is someone who has at least 2 years of corporate experience. Like I mentioned, we can do the bells and whistle things, but you really need that core experience. But any large field of work, you're not so attached to, I need this job title. We'll still get you in the field of work that you are a specialist in, but I don't have to work for Apple as a software developer. Like, I'm down for a 6 figure remote job and I'm open to potentially 2 or 3 of those remote jobs. I care more about the lifestyle that I'm able to create and the financial situation rather than the company, and I'm so attached to that. So anyone that is in that realm can benefit greatly. And as long as it's a pretty standard field of work, like sales, marketing, software development, data analysts, finance, accounting, I know I'm missing some, product management, project management, all fantastic. We had a client, Stella, who in her first 90 days with us went from 150K to 480K total earnings. So she added 330K to her income by getting an extra 2 data analyst roles, which was pretty cool to see.
That is cool. And I love just how deep you are in the business here. Like you kind of, I can just even like see the gears turning in your head, right? You're like, hey, there's this person, there's that person, there's these verticals, there's these numbers. It's great to hear about and think about. And as far as what you have working towards the future, is there any kind of area where are you like keeping up with the way things are changing? Is there anything on the cutting edge or anything new happening in your company?
Yeah, fantastic. In our company right now, we are just like right in the pocket with having a system that works. So we have not touched our messed with our process at all because it's working really well. One thing we've done recently that's quite cool is basically did a brain dump of all our best resumes and built a custom GPT that basically built a data model off of the resumes that are doing the best. So we can just upload a suboptimal resume from a client and it can just produce like the perfect resume. And of course, we're still doing some tweaks, but that's been cool to
Yeah.
just make our team extremely efficient and really standardize great results. Um, Not even with our company, but I want to share this because I think it's interesting. So, what is cool is we get on client calls and clients share what they're going through. And because the hiring process is being shaped by AI in real time, we just got off a call yesterday where this guy's saying, like, and I had never experienced this, but apparently now it's real, where interviewers will be reaching out to you and it'll feel like a human. And they'll be like, yeah, get on the Zoom call. So it all feels like a human. You get on the call and you're having a conversation with a video AI bot, and you realize that every interaction you've had up until now is with that like same AI bot. So it's like a new layer of the interview process more and more is AI, and we get to learn how to navigate that in real time, which is cool.
Yeah, it's an amazing time to be alive, right? Where like you don't want to have where, well, if I'm a human and I'm just interacting with all this AI stuff, but it's like if you are a human and you have an AI and automation applying to jobs for you, and then that person, company hiring, they have their AI, but then there's a human behind that, and if it's all in service of getting you employed, growing the company, delivering a product, making money, then it all works out. But it's just like, man, it's like human layer, AI
Yeah,
layer, human layer.
yeah,
It's just like it's so cool. The fun Wild West days of the internet are back, aren't they? With just all this
absolutely.
AI stuff
Yes,
changing so much,
insane
and so
disruption. Right.
yeah, like disruption on top, disruption stacking, right? It's like disruption squared. So in this last few minutes of us talking, like we've kind of touched on all these cool subjects, right? About job stacking, about you growing a company, about just all these things we have to pay attention to. And do you think, is there a missing question in our conversation? Is there something that I should be asking you, I just don't know to ask you?
I think the point of all this is the why behind it for everyone. And so I spend a lot of my time, as much as I can, focusing on the macro of what's coming in the next 10 years. Like, why job stack? Like you mentioned earlier, there is some inherent risk around it. So, like, why take on that risk? So, some of the things that I really like to pay attention to is the US debt cycle. If you've ever paid attention to Ray Dalio, break down basically just world history, in every 100 years, the world power basically gets extremely in debt, like we are right now. And then the value of their dollar or whatever their version of the dollar is drops by 99%. Like that stuff happens throughout history over and over and over again. We don't know exactly what it will look like, but are we that confident that within the next 50 years something like that won't happen? We have AI completely transforming the workforce. We just talked about it. Here in Austin, Waymo cars are everywhere. Like you can get in a robot driven Uber, like super easy. So that type of disruption is coming fast, super fast. Um, and it's happening at an exponential rate. So I think it's just really worth everyone to get their own opinion and their own perspective of what will the next 10 years, let alone 30 years of the job market look like. If anyone who's, no matter how old you are, you probably have at least, if you're listening to this, you probably have at least 10 more years you'd like to earn income. How confident are you that you're going to be able to do that in 10, 20 years? Like, hopefully we can. But I think those are the questions I'd be asking. Because for me, the more and more I look down those rabbit holes, I'm like, I'm going to do whatever I can to stack up financial security and stability now with the hopes that sure AI enables like us to all create great wealth over the next 30 years, but we don't know that that's going to be the case. So I encourage everyone to do what they can to zoom out a little bit and pay attention to the bigger picture as well.
Oh yeah, and that it pays to be educated, right? That you figure the average person is not looking into this. They're living in their bubble and they probably already are anxious. And then so you need to broaden your horizons, but that also comes with the anxiety. And then you have to filter the signal from the noise the way we've all had to learn to with AI, and the same with all these future possibilities and what could happen and all these potentials. And sometimes technology start out right. You have the fads, you have like the NFTs, and some things come and go and flop. And so it's like, well, you hang on for dear life in that roller coaster ride of saying, well, I'm still going to learn some things, get educated, listen to podcasts and YouTube, etc. But also know that, 80, 90% of it might not amount to anything, but that's still not a reason to be ignorant, especially if someone is looking into some of these case study success stories that you've mentioned here about how, for example, there's a former product manager who scaled his own income from 80K to over 390K through job stacking. And now you're mentioning some of these other amazing, success stories that happen. And so how can someone take this next step here? We have Elevated Technologies where you can land your next remote jobs with AI. Where should someone go to look into this?
Yeah, our main website is a really great place, ElevatedTech.us. We have a long form page there that explains the process, kind of just a little bit more explanation, everything we just chatted about. And for anyone who's curious, you can book a call with our team through that to just better understand the process. We can help you kind of lay out a roadmap of what it could look like for you, whether it's a fit for you based on your past experience and the likelihood that it can work for you. But for most people, if you can work one job, you can probably work two, with a little bit of reframing in terms of how to be as efficient as possible.
Yeah, this is something amazing you've discovered plus invented, Mr. Delaney. That's ElevatedTech.us. And if you're someone who knows you deserve a higher salary, but you're stuck in a role that doesn't meet your financial goals, if you've been struggling with application burnout, the qualification gap, and networking fatigue, and so much more, then it's time to scale your salary where Elevated Technologies can help you apply to thousands of jobs, get you real interviews, land a higher paying job, all with expert support. So if this sounds amazing, but also like just the right amount of scary where you're like, hey, this is different than what I've been doing so far, but I can pursue this despite the fear and act with courage anyway and get new, different results that I've already gotten with my past actions, then go to ElevatedTech.us. Go and click the button to book a call. And at least for now, we promise that it won't be an AI talking with you. But hey, in the future, that might change. But they've helped clients working at Meta, Netflix, Google, Accenture, and more. So if you're ready to scale your salary, ElevatedTech.us, click on the book a call button and have that conversation to discuss possibilities. And before I let you go here, Mr. Delaney, it's time for the scary part of the podcast where I ask you for a quote or lesson that has served you that you can pass on to us. So what do you have for a quote or lesson?
Yeah, I think one of the lessons that has helped me really thrive, especially in launching and growing a business, is have the awareness to know what you're really good at, usually a combination of what you like and are good at, and outsource everything else. So many people, especially in this online business building space, say, well, you need to do sales. You're the face of the brand. So like you shouldn't even hire a salesperson until you hit XYZ. I've always not enjoyed the sales process. I never thought I was that good at it. And I've been able to be successful and this applies in the realm of scaling jobs too. It's like, I know what's high value for me. Like I had started a podcast, interviewing all these cool people to make my, LinkedIn seem cooler and whatnot. I was able to do that with my time because I was like, what's not valuable? What should I not be doing? I shouldn't be applying to jobs. I shouldn't be doing sales in my business. So if you can get clear on what's the most high value thing to do with your time and build a system where you can pay someone else to do something that generates you 5 times more money, 10 times more money down the road. That's how I found success. So that's a lesson I'd love to pass on.
And that's a lovely lesson to strengthen your strengths and to not do to avoid what you're not good at, and not because that's so-called easier, just because it's not the right fit for you, and you can really double, triple down on what you're great at. If you're great with that sales, if you're great with podcasting, great at the back end, front end, whatever, then focus on that and leave the rest to the rest of your team, whatever you end up building, which in this day and age, you can click a button and hire people, and there is your team right there and assembled. But it's always difficult to go about this process on your own, right? You can learn all day long, but without a guide, an expert, a coach to help you out, then you can easily fail or give up or get distracted. And that's why you need to have that support system by going to ElevatedTech.us. Go there right now, book that call, talk to Delaney's team, and get this job stacking phenomenon figured out for yourself before the next AI disruption, before the next 100-year crash. Go ahead, do it right now, ElevatedTech.us. And thank you, Mr. Delaney, for showing up, stopping by, and just blowing our minds. This is amazing. Thank you.
Of course, Robert. Thank you so much for having me.